The Celtics' so-called revenge season is under the way, and if you're wondering why it's being called that, here's the breakdown. First, their run to the finals last year was seen as questionable, even by the team itself. The teams the Celtics faced were the Miami Heat, Cleveland Cavaliers, and Indiana Pacers, who were never picked to win a title, let alone even make it out of the Eastern Conference. So this has added motivation for Boston to prove themselves next season by beating stronger teams like New York, Philadelphia, and Milwaukee. Secondly, the team has felt disrespected. Jayson Tatum believed he should have won the finals MVP, while Jaylen Brown, despite winning the award, was somehow left off the Olympic team. To make matters worse, Tatum was the only player on the Olympic roster to make first team All-NBA and was somehow benched in 2 of those games. These slights are giving the Celtics extra motivation to dominate the upcoming season. Usually it's hard to repeat in any professional sport because of how hard you push yourself to win the first one, making it hard to find that same motivation for the next. However, this Boston Celtics squad is arguably more hungry to win this title than their first. However, what makes this Boston Celtics team the undisputed favorites to win it again this season? Let's look at 7 important factors that will make this Celtics team borderline unstoppable. First, Boston was able to retain every important player from their championship rotation, which means they're not really going to encounter any kind of chemistry issues. Continuity is such an underrated part of winning, but the truth is, it's one of the most important factors when it comes to winning at the highest level. I'm sure you've noticed, but take the Philadelphia 76ers for example, who it seems like every other season they're making drastic changes, and as a result, along with some unlucky injuries, the team is still yet to make the conference finals in the Embiid era. And then look at a team like the Boston Celtics, who for years had the same core, and even in the darkest times when people were calling for Boston to split up Tatum and Brown, they didn't, which allowed the pair to become arguably the best duo in basketball right now. This continuity was apparent in the preseason game versus Denver. To begin, Boston uses great ball movement to find Cornet under the basket, who then makes the pass out to White, who floats at home. Now it's JT who fakes the step back jumper, only to shovel a pass into Holiday for 2. This Celtics team just feels so comfortable and connected, as here it's Tatum who makes the cross-court pass dime for Derek White, who knocks down the triple. Boston at all times know where each other are on the court, and I can't stress enough how important that really is, as they're likely going to get a head start over their opponents early in the season, banking important wins to get up in the standings. Something I noticed in this game, despite it only being a preseason match, was how Boston were looking to attack early in transition, as here it's Tatum with a hit ahead to Derek White, who's able to beat Jokic off the dribble, getting to the basket for 2. Then again out on the break, Boston get the ball up the court quickly with the pass, allowing a pull-up 3 for Peyton Pritchard. With Boston running the ball more this season, that could potentially take even more pressure off of Tatum and Brown, which could see them come into a postseason series fresh and ready to go. The second key factor is of course Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. JT and JB are the 1A and 1B of the Celtics, both capable of leading the team in scoring on any given night. And when one has it going, the other is more than happy to play tough defense or set up plays to help out. Having 2 elite forwards is so tough for opponents because teams usually have one good wing defender, leaving the other player room to dominate. While the Knicks now have OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, who could potentially be better equipped to handle this kind of situation, it's not a big concern for Boston just yet. What is worrying though is Tatum's shooting. In the postseason, Jayson Tatum shot just 28% from 3, which was a huge drop from his 37% rate in the regular season. His jumper looks slow and awkward at times. However, recent footage from the media day shows Jayson Tatum working on a quicker release. So there's hope that next season he'll be better in May and June when the team really needs it. Later in the second quarter of this preseason game, we actually did see the new JT jump shot, as it looked a little quicker and a little smoother. As here off the Brown offensive rebound, Tatum calmly walks into the triple and knocks it down. Jaylen Brown is coming off a finals MVP campaign where he carried the team at times when Jayson Tatum was struggling to shoot. Brown has steadily improved on his offense every season, now ranking in the 94th percentile overall. But he's not just an offensive threat, he's also an elite defender. When tasked with guarding an opponent's best player, Jaylen Brown always steps up to the occasion, as shown by by his impressive defense on Luka Doncic in the finals. He's also great on smaller players like a Damian Lillard, a Jaylen Brunson, or a Donovan Mitchell. According to Crafted NBA, his defensive versatility puts him in the 93rd percentile, showcasing this elite ability to guard 1 through 4. Then the third thing we need to discuss is about Kristaps Porzingis. After missing much of the postseason with a calf injury, he returned in Game 1 of the finals and shocked everybody by scoring 20 points on 61% shooting in just 20 minutes of play. However, in Game 2, he re-injured his calf, leading to off-season surgery. Initially, the Celtics said he'd be out until the new year, but on media day, there was newfound optimism that he could return by December. If Porzingis does indeed come back that early without being rushed, this would be a massive boost for the team. An early return from Porzingis would help ease the load off of Tatum and Brown, allowing them to play fewer minutes and stay even fresher for the postseason. When fully healthy, Porzingis is one of the NBA's biggest wildcards, as his pairing of elite outside shooting and dominant inside scoring makes him a dangerous threat. With the Knicks now having Karl Anthony Towns, the availability of Porzingis is even more crucial for Boston, making this their most important question for the upcoming season. The fourth key factor to mention is how great the signing of Jrue Holiday was for Boston. When the Milwaukee Bucks traded Damian Lillard, few would have guessed that they would lose out on the trade after only 1 season. While the Bucks could still win this deal long term with a healthy roster and a full off season for Damian Lillard, in the short term, the addition of Holiday helped Boston to win their first title since 2008. Holiday was arguably Boston's third most important player throughout that postseason run, averaging 13.2 points, 6.1 rebounds, 4.4 assists, and 1.1 steals on 50% shooting. But where he really showed his value was on the biggest stage, the NBA Finals, where he put up 14.4 points, 7.4 rebounds, 3.8 assists, with incredible shooting splits of 53% from the field, 42% from deep, and 100% from the free throw line. Nobody expected Jrue to deliver a 50-40-90 performance in the finals, but that just highlights how talented he is. In Milwaukee, Holiday was often the third or even second offensive option, forcing him to create off the dribble, something that's not his strength. But with Boston, he was at times the fifth option on offense, allowing him to focus on corner threes and cutting to the basket, which then allowed him to shoot an incredible 55% on corner threes last season. Jrue's ability to contribute on both ends of the floor makes him one of the Boston Celtics' most important players in any given game. The fifth factor to consider for the Celtics' title chances next season is Jrue Holiday's backcourt partner, Derek White. JJ Redick believed that White should have been an all-star last season, and even though he wasn't selected, his talent on both ends of the floor is definitely at an all-star level. Offensively, Derek White can explode for big games, like when he dropped 38 points on the Miami Heat in the first round. He was also able to shoot 40% from 3 throughout the postseason, while his defense is elite, ranking in the 94th percentile among all players. As a guard, he's one of the best shot blockers in the game, averaging 1.2 blocks per game throughout the playoffs. In the NBA Finals, White's defense on Kyrie Irving was exceptional, forcing him into tough shots, holding Kyrie to just 19 points per game on 41% shooting. White's defensive strength comes from his 6'7" wingspan despite only being 6'3", allowing him to disrupt passing lanes and steal the ball while guarding a smaller player. Then the sixth factor we need to consider is how Boston need more from Luke Kornet and Xavier Tillman early in the season. With Porzingis out for at least the first 2 months, the Celtics center depth will be tested. Al Horford is now 38 and is still crucial on both offense and defense. But you probably don't want to overwork him early in the season, especially considering the fact that Al Horford didn't even play in the first preseason game. Boston will need to decide whether to give Horford extra minutes or start either Kornet or Tillman. Luke Kornet is a solid rim protector only in a drop coverage, as he struggles once he has to guard on the perimeter. Here with the bench unit in the preseason game versus Denver, Boston tested out Kornet as the offensive hub for 2 possessions, and it actually worked. First, hitting the open Pritchard for 3, and then acting as a connecting piece, he finds Walsh in the corner, who then gets it back to him for 2. Boston was continuing to keep Kornet involved offensively throughout this game, as now it's Brown who rifles a pass into Luke good for two. If Kornet can offer a lob threat or a strong rolling presence on offense, that would help the Celtics a ton on that side of the ball. Xavier Tillman, on the other hand, isn't as strong as a rim protector, but is much better defending on the perimeter and has been developing a three ball, which could help the Celtics maintain their 5-out offense, here making a corner three in that preseason game. But he's also shown his ability to be a solid connector, as here he'll first fake the pass to Brown and then he hits him on the cut as he's able to throw it down. Tillman is an underrated asset for Boston moving forward, and now with KP potentially returning earlier than expected, this won't be as crucial as we first thought, but Boston still will need to make a decision. Then the 7th factor we need to get into is just how underrated a pickup Lonnie Walker was. Out of nowhere in the middle of the offseason, Boston randomly signed Lonnie Walker as a free agent, and honestly I forgot he was still not even on a team. The fact that he was a free agent at this time is kind of ridiculous, considering he just came off a season with Brooklyn where he put up 9.7 points along with a 38% shooting accuracy from beyond the arc. His defense, however, was likely the reason he wasn't picked up, as he isn't great on that side of the ball, ranking in the 14th percentile as a defensive player. However, his ability to come off the bench and be a spark plug for this Celtics team can't be overlooked. He's not a guy that you would put the ball into his hands to create offense for himself, but as mentioned earlier, he's able to space the floor as he takes shots within the flow of a team's offense. All of this is to say Lonnie Walker was a quality pickup for the Boston Celtics, and even though he might not be in the initial rotation, he's a guy who can come in if somebody gets injured and play a role, which is something you can't put a price tag on. With these 7 factors covered, we can now get into the best and worst case scenarios for the Boston Celtics in the 2025 season. First, the best case scenario. If Porzingis returns healthy and stays that way, Boston's potential skyrockets. His offensive and defensive versatility lifts the team, giving them confidence that strengthens the already strong rotation. Coach Mazzulla unites the roster, helping them to focus solely on winning another title, and not the past. They achieve what the last 5 champions couldn't, a repeat title, solidifying themselves as a rising dynasty and one of the greatest teams ever. In the worst case scenario, the health concerns of Porzingis plagued the season, turning it into a nightmare. Tatum struggles with his shooting, and his insistence on shooting through those slumps disrupts the flow of the NBA's best starting 5. Brown's rise outshines Tatum, leading to a breakdown in chemistry from the top down. The team then can't fix it in time, resulting in an early playoff exit. With new ownership unwilling to pay for the current roster next season, the Celtics lose what made them great, and with it, their championship window closes. The reality for the Celtics is likely in between these two extremes. On one hand, they have the talent and depth to make another title run, especially if Porzingis stays healthy and the team gels. But on the other, health concerns, especially with Porzingis, could become a lingering issue, and if there's any chemistry problems, like Tatum and Brown not clicking, this might disrupt their momentum. So if 1 is the worst case scenario and 10 is the best case scenario, where would you rank this Celtics team? For me, I would have to put it at about an 8 or a 9, but that's just my take. What's your ranking? Let me know in the comments below.